Hello students, this is Hardik sir, and in this video we will be studying our chapter 3 from history, ruling the countryside, from standard 8. So before we start with the chapter, I request you to go through the chapter once if possible, or after watching this video please go through your lesson very carefully. Secondly, I also would request you to keep a pen and paper with you, because during this video you will be asked altogether 45 different questions. Each of them will be having options with them, so you have to answer all the questions carefully. If you do not have pen and paper with you, I request you to pause the video and get it and then resume the video. Now I hope you have already pen and paper with you, and we will be starting chapter 3, ruling the countryside, from standard 8 history. So this particular lesson you will find on page number 26. In the beginning itself you will find a picture something like this. Now what does this picture suggest us? Who is the person receiving a particular document, as you can see in the picture? So let us have a look over the introductory part. In the beginning you will find the first paragraph, that on 12th August 1765 the Mughal emperor appointed the East India Company as the Diwan of Bengal. I would underline the word Diwan. Means I can say that from particular this date, the most important, on 12th August 1765, now EEIC became the Diwan. Means now EEIC got the right to collect the revenue, means the taxes. So the revenue will be collected from the state of Bengal, because it got the Diwani of Bengal. From those revenue, the money which EEIC will collect, it can use it for the growth of Bengal, means for the development of the people of Bengal, and also for their personal use. It means for trading and fulfilling their requirements. Now as Diwan, the company became the chief financial administrator. I want to say that chief financial administrator, it means it had to collect the revenue and also organize revenue in various ways of development. It also had to purchase number of goods from here and also had to sell them in European countries as well as in Britain. So it was something we can say that now the company had the responsibility of financial administration of Bengal. So that was under its control. Now it had to think of administering the land and organizing its revenue resources. Now it had to organize the revenue resources. Before getting this right, the company was only a trader, but now it had become an administrator. And this how and when happened, you have already studied Battle of Plassey and Battle of Buxar in the previous lessons. From 1757, 1764, we have gone through all these things. And after the Battle of Buxar, the company on 12 August 1765 got the right of Diwani. And this had to be done, means this organization of revenue was to be done in a way that could yield, means that could produce enough revenue, means that can help them with enough revenue to meet the growing expenses of the company. Means they had to collect as much as revenue possible and to fulfill their requirements and to meet all their expenses. Means now the company was depended for their expenses on the revenue collected from Bengal, and they got the right to collect revenue by Diwani, and that means on particular date, that is 12th August 1765, they got the right of Diwani and the company became Diwan. A trading company had also to ensure that it could buy the products it needed from the money which collected as revenue, and also needed to sell what it wanted. So the products of need will be bought from this revenue, and also it would be sold in the European markets. So this was particularly with the introductory part you will find. Now I will zoom this picture for you. You can see Robert Clive is the person accepting the Diwani of Bengal. After this you will have 3 questions. As I told you to take a pen and paper with you. Now this is the time you have to only prepare the answer key. You do not need to write any question. There are only some MCQ questions. Even with true or false also you have to apply A or B. Okay, so please read the questions carefully and then only answer the questions. If you want to go back to the video, you can. And if you just want to go honestly with the video, means with the questions, that also you are free to. So these are the questions. First you can find, when did Mughal emperor appoint the East India Company as the Diwan of Bengal? You have 4 options. Then you can find who accepted the grant of Diwani, who was the person to accept the grant of Diwani. And third question you can find, as what or as blank the company became the chief financial administrator. Pause the video if you need to think and then answer all these 3 questions with only A, B, C, D. You don't need to write entire option right now. You will get the answer key by the end of the last part of this lesson. Till that time, keep this paper also with you, and if you want you can also update your score in comment, and necessarily it would be better if you write even your names. Next you can find growth of revenue. You will find on page number 27 the title revenue for the company. Now you can see that the company had become Diwan. We have seen on 12th August 1765 the company became Diwan, means now the company had a right to collect the revenue from Bengal. But for company, it always and always saw itself primarily as a trader. As EIC had approached India, had come to India for trading, so primarily they had the thinking of a trader. It wanted a larger revenue, means they wanted more and more money, but it was unwilling to set up any regular system of assessment and collection. Means it wanted money, but for that whatever the organization or arrangement had to be done, the company was unwilling to set up such a system. It wanted money but didn't want to set up any system. The effort was to increase the revenue as much as possible, and why it wanted to increase the revenue? So that it could buy fine cotton and silk cloth as cheaply as possible. So after collecting much of the revenue, they also can invest that money to buy cotton and silk cloth. Within 5 years, the value of goods bought by the company in Bengal doubled. So whatever the goods were bought by the company, their prices had a very good rise, and it got doubled. Before 1865, if I discuss, the company had purchased goods in India by importing gold and silver from Britain. Means it had to bring in India the gold and silver to purchase cloth, and then by selling that cloth again it can earn a revenue. But now because of this revenue which were collected from Bengal, Now the company could finance the purchase of goods for export. Means now, after getting this right, the company was no more dependent on gold and silver from Britain. But before 1865, it was like that. It had to import gold and silver from Britain to buy goods. So what we have seen, company became Diwan, but it saw itself as a trader. It wanted a large revenue, but didn't want to set up any system for collection, for assessment, nothing. The effort was to increase the revenue as much as possible so that it can buy cotton and silk cloth. Within 5 years, their goods value doubled. Before 1865, the company had purchased the goods with the exchange of gold and silver from Britain, but now the revenue only was enough. So, this is what you will find on page number 27. But soon, what happened? With the next particular paragraph, you will find the information that soon it was clear that the Bengal economy was facing a deep crisis. And what could be this deep crisis about? Any guesses? Obviously, these deep crises were about the economy in Bengal as it is given. So Bengal economy was facing deep crisis. Bengal society, culture, I am not talking about those things. You can find the same paragraph on page number 27 just above the picture, just above the figure as you are helped with. So soon it was clear that Bengal economy had now crisis. And why it had crisis? So you can find that artisans were deserting the villages. It means artisans now they left the villages and they were forced to sell their goods to the company at low prices. So at low prices the artisans had to sell their goods. And ultimately now they started leaving the villages. Peasants were unable to pay the dues that were being demanded from them. They also were not able to pay the dues. Artisanal production was in decline because, as you can see, they were deserting the village. So now there was a decline in the production of artisanal things, and agriculture and also cultivation, agricultural cultivation showed sign of collapse. So because of high revenue, a demand of high revenue, now we are just moving towards the main part of the lesson, revenue, taxes. So that's what we are going to see with this particular lesson, and why you should study these things, because history only teaches us whatever the mistakes have been committed by the rulers or administrators in the past, those things will not be repeated by you in the future if you are the administrator or the ruler. That you know very well why do we study this. We are not studying this only to cram. So what happens, you can see economy was suffering a lot. Artisans left the villages, agricultural cultivation also now started showing collapse. So ultimately what happened, the economy had now a trouble. Then in 1770, a terrible famine killed 10 million people in Bengal. About 1/3 of the population was wiped out. So this was a terrible famine. You can understand that 1/3 of the population of Bengal was wiped out totally. And this terrible famine occurred in the year 1770. So this is what about the page number 27 you can find. Now again from these two paragraphs we have certain questions. I request you, if you want to study seriously, please answer these questions very honestly. Be honest to yourselves and answer these all questions. Now you can find altogether there are 5 questions. You can go through the questions, answer A, B, C, D only. No need to write the entire option. For true and false also, please write only A or B. No need to write true or false, because in answer key you will find either A or B. So I request you, To go through this, you just pause the video once and then continue with the same. Now, I hope you would have answered the questions very carefully. Next page, page number 28, you can find the need to improve agriculture. And we are studying the title permanent settlement. Means in this particular paragraph, you are informed about the permanent settlement. Now, what and why this word is used? So, as I told that we are now moving to the most important part of the lesson, that is revenue. As you know that EEIC means the company got the right of Diwani. Now it had a right to collect the revenue. So to collect that revenue, they implemented different systems. Among them, the first system was permanent settlement. And why the other systems were implemented, you can understand that the previous system would have some sort of problems, and to overcome those problems, a new system was implemented. And like this, we are going to study different systems of collection of revenue implemented by EEIC, English East India Company. So now the main part starts, permanent settlement system. So now if the economy was in ruins, now do you agree that the company would be able to or would be able to get certain source of revenue income? Because as you have seen with the previous part, that the economy was suffering a lot. Now do you agree that the company could earn more and more money? Would the people be able to pay money? Obviously no, because we know that it had now a deep crisis of economy. So most of the company officials began to feel that investment in land, means in agriculture, had to be encouraged and agriculture had to be improved. Means now the company should take some steps to improve agriculture and improve investment in land. To improve investment in land wants to say to improve the quality of land. It's not like that only and only the production will be taken and no care of land would be taken. Means such investment in land should be taken care of. So now the company had to take some steps to improve agriculture by improving the land only. And the land can be improved by certain investments. The permanent settlement was introduced. Now permanent settlement wants to say this is the system of revenue collection which was introduced in 1793. Now EEIC implemented a system. According to this particular system, Rajas and Talukdars, you can find Rajas and Talukdars were recognized as Zamindars. Means Rajas and Talukdars were given the titles of Zamindars, and these Zamindars were given the responsibility of revenue collection. Means Rajas and Zamindars, they were now titled as Zamindars, and these Zamindars had now responsibility to collect the revenue on behalf of company. You can understand this well. So this was the responsibility given to Rajas and Talukdars. So you can understand the word permanent settlement. So now we will come to know that also. The amount to be paid was fixed permanently, and that's why known as permanent settlement. Means if a revenue is decided, for an example rupees 100, means these Rajas and Talukdars who were known as Zamindars, they had to pay only rupees 100 to the company, whether they collected 90 or whether they collected 110. So it means that it was permanently fixed amount, it was not to be changed, and that's why the name came to be known as permanent settlement. The company officials felt that it would ensure a regular flow of revenue, because as it was fixed permanently, so these Rajas and Talukdars who were now known as Zamindars, they will regularly supply them money, means they will collect the money, means taxes and revenue for them, and will also forward to them. They also felt that this would motivate the zamindars to invest in improving the land, means this zamindar would invest in land for its improvement. But zamindars were not much worried about it, because whether they invest or they do not invest, they had to collect the same revenue and also had to pay the same amount to the higher authorities. Means they were in the situation of a fixed profit, and that's why they were not actually be interested. So the zamindars would benefit from increased production. So if they would have invested, if zamindars would have invested, try to understand, if zamindars would have invested to improve the land, the production would have increased, and with the increased production they would earn more revenue. And if they will start earning more revenue, that clearly means that they will have more profits. Try to understand, zamindar after improvement, if he gets 130 rupees from of a tax and he has to pay only 100, means if he improves land he can maximize his profits like this, because to pay was fixed, but he can ask for more revenue as per the production. So that's why permanent settlement system, you can understand, as the amount to be collected was fixed from the zamindars, not from the cultivators or from the farmers. So these zamindars would collect the money, collect the taxes on behalf of EEIC, and then would deposit the same amount, a fixed amount which is decided, to the company. But then what happened about it, we will see. First we will have something else. You can find the same picture in your book on page number 28. Figure 3, Charles Cornwallis. Cornwallis was the Governor General of India when the permanent settlement was introduced. We can say that Lord Cornwallis, Charles Cornwallis, introduced the permanent settlement system of revenue. So to collect the revenue, this system was introduced in the year 1793, as we have already seen this. Please keep all these things in your mind, because again after the part of permanent settlement system, you will have certain questions to answer. Then we will be studying different another two methods of collection of revenue also. So please keep your pen and paper still with you. Now, what were the problems of permanent settlement? As I told you in the beginning, why we need another system? Because the previous system has failed somewhere, and that's why the new system has now been implemented. The revenue was fixed at such a high level that zamindars found it difficult to pay. So this is the major problem you can understand. As the zamindar had to pay a very high level of amount, it was not possible for them to pay easily, and a zamindar who failed to pay the revenue lost his zamindari. Try to understand this sentence, because it was very high to pay, and also in such a situation, if a zamindar fails to pay, then he would lose his zamindari. And because of that, the zamindars were not investing in the improvement of land, because if they would have extra money, they would have some excess money, more profit, then they could invest. And if they would have invested, then obviously you can understand they could have earned more revenue. But unfortunately, as the amount was fixed at a very high level, that zamindars couldn't pay it, and because of that they could even not invest in the improvement of the land. But the situation changed by the first decade of the 19th century, means 1793 to the first decade of 19th century itself. There was a change. There was price rise and expansion in the cultivation. Now the price of the goods also started rising, and also saw a growth in cultivation. The income of the zamindars increased, obviously, but for them it didn't result in any gain. Ultimately, it didn't result in any gain for them, means I want to say for the company. Means now the income of zamindar started increasing because of the expansion of cultivation, but for company, as you know, that it was fixed permanently, as the name suggests, as permanent settlement. So as per that, the company didn't have any benefit. Now the company came to know that these zamindars are earning much, but they are not gaining any extra benefits because of this fixed revenue demand. As they had set up this fixed revenue demand, now the benefit was in the hands of the zamindars. So try to understand, first the amount was fixed permanently for zamindars. These zamindars were not able to pay in the beginning, but in the situation changed in the 19th century first decade itself, where the zamindars income was increased, but the income of company was not increasing. So now this was the trouble for the company. So the zamindars preferred to earn as much profit as they could and seldom bothered about investing in land. So they only wanted more and more money. They were not at all interested in investing in land, because now the flow of money had started regularly. They were just happy to lease out the land to tenants. Now these tenants were actually the farmers who were appointed by the zamindars. They would take a fixed rent, or in the kind also, means cash or kind. There are two types of collection. Cash, you can understand, the farmer would sell his product in the market and then would pay in cash, or in kind, that means certain portion of the production would be given to zamindars as per the rent. So this was the situation. You can understand now these zamindars were happy to lease out the land to tenants, means they had now the regular flow of income. The system was extremely oppressive. You can find here, this is the most important statement again, because you can find the cultivator had to work throughout the year. After the production, he had to pay a high rent to the zamindar, but there was no security of his right on the land. Means if he fails to pay, the tax even sometime, then his right over the land will not be there. Means this zamindar would give the same land to another tenant. So the cultivator often had to take loan from the money lenders to pay the rent, because if he fails to pay the rent, he would lose his land. And because of this failure of payment, and that means he would be evicted from his land itself. It means the eviction for the cultivator from the land. So he would be evicted from the land. He would now no more be the tenant. So you can understand, these are the problems, or these were the problems of permanent settlement. We will recall it very fast. First problem, you can find revenue was very high. If zamindar fails to pay, he would lose his zamindari. But situation changed in 19th century beginning itself, because of the rise and expansion of cultivation, and zamindars now started earning good, but the company didn't. So this was the problem for the company. Zamindars started to earn as much as possible, but they were not investing in the improvement of land. They were only happy to lease out the lands to tenants. But the problem was for the tenant, because the system was very oppressive for cultivator, because he was at the lowest level. So he had to bear the highest pressure, you can understand. So he had to pay a high revenue, high rent to the zamindar, but there was no security of his right. So to pay rent, he had to sometime take loan from the money lenders, and ultimately if he fails to pay the rent, then he would be evicted from his own land. Again, you will find some questions only and only based on permanent settlement system. If you want to pause the video and want to go back again, you can again go through the part of permanent settlement system of revenue, and then come back to the questions, answer the questions honestly. And please, 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 if you really want to study, if you are serious about your education, I request you to answer honestly and also update the marks in comment. At last you will find the answer key for all 45 questions. So here are the questions for you. Pause the video if you want to answer the questions, and after answering honestly, you can go through the textbook again. We have completed up to page number 28. On page number 29 you will find the title, a new system is devised. I hope you have answered all the question, and that system we will be starting by part 2. Thank you for the day. Keep learning.